Hi, good night. Welcome to Conversation with Rickford Burke. Text me, let me know wherever you're watching from. It's now what, 9:10 in New York. We're sorry for the late start. I'm awaiting my two guests from BARTICA, Guyana. In the meantime, share the link. Get into all your Guyanese groups and share the link, whichever social media platform you're on, broadcasting from another location tonight. Here in New York though. So get into your Guyanese groups. Everybody share the link. I see a number of you already joining. Everybody share the link. Wow, wow, that was quick. Straight up to 500 immediately. Thank you. So all 500 of you share the link to 10 or 20 other people. And let's get the conversation started. So whether you're watching from North America, here in New York City, Europe, Africa, wherever you're watching from, I hope you're having a good night. I see the of BARTICA is calling me. So share the link. I'll be back in 30 seconds. And we'll start the conversation. Our guest tonight will be the regional chairman of Region 7, Mr. Kenneth Williams, and the mayor of BARTICA, Mr. Gifford Marshall. So share the link and we'll be back in 60 seconds. All right. Again, this is Rickford Burke in New York. Welcome to Conversation with Rickford Burke. Tonight, we'll be talking about the police assault on the 20-year-old Chris Crichton at BARTICA. I see the regional chairman was here. I see the mayor here. I can see they're having some technical difficulties. Of course, we're dealing with BARTICA, so they might have some internet issues there. So keep sharing the link. They will join us. I know that both of them are trying to log into our system here. I see Mr. Williams back here. Keep sharing the link. Keep sharing the link. And we'll be back in 60 seconds. Mr. Williams, as a matter of fact, let me bring in the regional chairman quickly. Mr. Williams, good night. Welcome to Conversation with Rickford Burke.
Good evening, Rickford, and thank you for having me. I pray that you're doing well, you and your family are all well, and I expect us to have an excellent conversation this evening. Thank you very much once again for having me.
Thank you. I understand the internet challenge. We're dealing with BARTICA. You guys are a remote location, but I'm hearing you decently, pretty well. I think the sound is pretty decent. I'm seeing you. Audience, please let me know. Text, let me know. Keep sharing the link. Everybody, keep sharing the link. So what we'll do, I see the mayor is trying to join as well. So Mr. Williams, just stay tuned. I'll bring you back in. You'll be behind a back studio, and I'll bring you back in shortly.
Thank you very much.
All right, so keep sharing the link, everybody. Like I said, we're waiting on the mayor of BARTICA. There was a regional chairman. Keep sharing the link. Again, you can interact with me, text me, let me know where you're watching from. I'm here in New York. Those of you who are in Guyana, in the Caribbean, wherever you are, welcome to Conversation with Burke. We'll be back in 30 seconds. Keep sharing the link. All right, everybody's here. Welcome. Mayor Marshall, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Good night, sir.
Good night, good night. Welcome. Regional Chairman, Mr. Kenneth Williams, can you hear me?
I'm hearing you loud and clear, Rickford.
And we're hearing you loud and clear.
Loud
Good,
and
let's
clear.
go. Loud and clear, thanks. Wow, I'm talking to BARTICA, my hometown, where I was born. Let me start with the regional chairman. A lot of people from the Guyanese community, especially the diaspora, don't really know you. Can you tell us a little about yourself. What did you do before you became the regional chairman, and your family and so on?
Well, that's going to take a whole night, Rickford. Are you willing to listen
No, I
to
just need 30 seconds.
Basically, I'm Kenneth Williams. My father was the famous Clarence Williams. Many people, I think, have a fair idea who he was. He was an insurance agent and a prominent businessman in BARTICA. I attended St. John the Baptist Primary School, and then I went to the Bishop's High School in Georgetown. So I missed a couple of years. So sometimes when I see people in this, they remind me that I wasn't here. I wasn't here. I did not attend school in BARTICA. I like to, hype myself and tell people that I went to the best high school in the country. Ivy League high school.
Right boys.
Yes, possibly. But you guys know my brothers. They've always been involved in education, sports. They've always been actively involved. Clarence Jr., Roger, Martin, all over the world they are right now. I'm the only one in Guyana. So when I left school, I went straight into the family business. I sold insurance, and I enjoyed that stretch of my life simply because I worked with no one. And I've always held that as a banner because my father made sure that I was, adequately prepared for the world by not encouraging me to work with anyone, but by encouraging me to stay tuned to my obvious beliefs that you should be able to, handle your own business and be part of the business administration. It's a sad thing that a certain ethnicity, they're not inclined to doing business, but my father taught us already that we should be inclined to do business and recognize the opportunities therein. So I'm grateful. I'm grateful for the tutelage. I'm grateful for his advice. I'm grateful for so many things, and especially grateful to God for giving me the opportunity to serve this beautiful region.
Thank you. Mayor, His Worship, Gifford Marshall, tell us a little bit about yourself and your family history in BARTICA.
Well, good night, and I want to thank you for allowing me to be on the program tonight. And indeed, it's a privilege. I was born in BARTICA, grew up. Most persons would know the Marshalls. Godfrey Marshall is, in particular, it's my dad. And I spent most of my years with the famous Mr. Lambert, my grandfather. I actually grew up with my grandparents. And of course, I left BARTICA on 2 occasions, and one is to study because I'm a teacher by profession. And secondly, I had the opportunity of serving in the Bahamas for just about, I would say about 4.5 years or thereabout, just over 4 years. And so those were the 2 times I left BARTICA. So persons who sometimes have challenges remembering me would miss me, for a point in time, and basically when I was out studying or when I was in the Bahamas. So I have one brother who is in BARTICA, Godfrey. I think most Barticians know him well. And I have a sister in Georgetown and an ex-sister out of the country. My mom and dad resides presently in Georgetown. And my grandparents, of course, are now deceased. But my cousins are stretched all across this beautiful land of ours, and of course the Caribbean. And persons would also know that I'm married to a Fisher Marshall, Stella Fisher out of Linden. And we have 2 beautiful girls, Amarai and Giano.
Great, thank you. Somebody just texted me asking me how am I partition? Well, because I was born there. I left BARTICA as a child. I would go back to visit when I was growing up. We'd go up. A lot of, for those people in BARTICA who don't know me, my family would be the Allens, the Gomes. Everybody knows Pastor Gomes, who's the pastor of the Baptist Church. That's my mother's brother.
And that's my pastor.
And that's your pastor. Oh, by the way, I had an aunt whose name was Marshall. She lived on 5th Avenue and 4th Street. One of my cousins. Her whole generation is now in Canada. all her children. So we got to investigate a Marshall thing.
Okay,
Her
no
name
problem.
was Ada Marshall. That was my grandmother's sister.
Oh,
So we have to investigate our family roots.
that's right. That's right. That's right.
So it's such a pleasure. I've always paid an interest in BARTICA. I remember when I worked as a teenager for Desmond Hoyt. That was my last visit to BARTICA, as I could remember. I was probably, not my last visit, but the last visit I did working for the government of Guyana. I was there with Desmond Hoyt, and we had a massive rally in BARTICA, right in the square by the statue there. I think that's like 1st Street and 1st Avenue, if my memory serves me well.
Yes. Yes,
Yeah,
that's
so
the
that's my last memory of BARTICA, because I'm pretty sure BARTICA is pretty modern now.
And that's what year? That's what year?
I can't remember.
Probably 1990s.
Probably, yes. Probably in the 1997 campaign.
Okay.
I went back once after that, but not officially, just to pop in and pop out.
Okay.
But so that's my last memories of BARTICA. I haven't been to BARTICA for a while. Everybody keep sharing the link. So we have, what, 3,700 people watching so far. We are broadcasting on 3 platforms here, YouTube and Facebook, of course, and some other social media platforms. So I'm sure everybody would keep joining, but keep sharing the link. Everybody here, keep sharing the link, and let's hear what BARTICA has to offer. We not only look at the police brutality issue and abuse of the young man and the whole occurrence that we had at the station with the Bell brothers, nobody arrested. Mr. Das hasn't been arrested, but also I want to talk generally about development of BARTICA and the region, of course. A lot of people think Region 7 is just BARTICA, but the region is Cayuni, Mazaruni. BARTICA just happened to be one tongue in Essequibo. So, but before we get into the discussion, I want to first focus on the issue at the police station with the Bell brothers. And I want to play that video because I think it's important for people to understand what is happening in BARTICA, the context under which all of this is unfolding. And so let me first deal with the Bell issue. I'll play the video and then we'll come back on the other side and discuss it.
So what you want to do?
I video in it. You can't buy them, I video in it. I am not fighting nobody. I video in it. I will video it. I see what's going on. I see what's going on.
One of the brothers come this side, they got an incident for one state from this side.
I see.
Really don't want the brothers come from this side and everything. Put them separate. Put everybody separate. Look, I'm saying Mr. Bell come from this one side. Look, Mr.
All right, so I'm not sure how it came over there. It looked to me that it came over upside down or something. But that was the Bell brother, I think Stephen Bell, who's a PPP representative in Region 7, and his brother, whose name I think is Clarence, if I'm not mistaken. They had a fight that started on the Stelling and ended up at the police station just outside the officer in charge office. Police officers in BARTICA told me a few of them were injured. Something was broken, chair, benches, whatever. Also, I understand that nobody was arrested as a result of that incident. You saw soldiers there, you saw police officers there. Let me start with the mayor and then I'll go to the regional chairman. Mr. Mayor, if this could happen in the police station.
Sorry. Just go to, sorry about that. Just take the regional chairman first and then I'll come after on this issue.
Sure.
Please.
Okay, sure. Mr. Regional Chairman. If this is happening in the police station, has the police officer in charge of the station, and I want to make a distinction between the commanding officer for the Region 7 division and the officer in charge of BARTICA police station. Have you received any explanation as to why nobody was arrested at the time, and has anyone been arrested since?
All right, Rickford, again, thank you for having me. And Richard, those images are very unfortunate. You're from BARTICA. You know what we represent. We've always, I think we have been the best exponent of social cohesion. During, after, and even before elections, we have not had the sort of disturbances that you normally have outside of BARTICA. We've always been a fun-loving people, as far back as you would know. And a people who love the outside, who love we are extroverts by nature, and we enjoy the scenery. We enjoy BARTICA. We've always been Barticians to the bone, and we are very proud of our region. We're very proud. We portray BARTICA everywhere we go. I like what you do. You announce that you're a Bartician. You do not hide it. We have prominent Barticians like Sonia Noel, Simona Brooms, famous Barticians who continue to wear the flag of BARTICA high. So these images are very unfortunate, but these things do happen. And on behalf of the region, I really want to apologize to the rest of the world. It does not reflect who we are. And these incidents, all of them, they've come thick and fast, but we still are insisting that we are hospitable people, and we continue to portray, we will continue to accept visitors from near and far, and our region should not be stigmatized simply because of these couple of incidents, right? But in relation to the Bells incidents, I have some news. I did call the command, I must admit, before I got on the program. And I think 23 charges were laid against the Bells. They went before the court yesterday. The magistrate, I think I was told, they apologized for their actions, and I think she withdrew the charges against each other, the charges that were placed against them. So those charges were dropped, but the charges about the destruction of the police property and disorderly behavior in the police force, that in the police station, those charges are still there, and I think they have to return to court soon. I think it was 7 or 8 of them, I've been told, have been charged, and that's the best I can give you, Rickford, in relation to the Bells brothers.
Thanks. Well, you just broke some news there. Thank you for breaking that news there. You've just broke some news as regional chairman. So the regional chairman is reporting that the Bell brothers were charged, and I'm pretty sure that those charges came because of the public outrage. And so you're saying, I guess, the assault charges against each other were probably dropped, but the charges against the people of BARTICA continued, which is disorderly conduct, destruction of property. But if I might press you a little further, did the police give you an explanation of how this incident happened in the police station and they were able to walk out?
No, Rickford, I have not gotten that explanation, but I'm just happy the charges were laid. The word is not happy, but I'm just want to assure the public the charges were laid, and they're friends of ours. The Bells are friends. We do not see them as enemies. They might be political. They might be serving a different political party, but we still consider them friends. And although these charges were laid, we're hoping that for the family's sake, there's some amount of reconciliation. And as senior members of the society, we do not wish to see this happen in any family of ours, and any in this region. We hope that families will live in love and unity. So for that part, we're not happy, but I know the law is the law. If you transgress, then you have to face the penalties. And I think they're acutely aware of what they've done, and in relation to whether they were able to leave, I have no clue why they were able to leave and what transpired subsequently, but I was assured that charges were laid.
All right, thanks. Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Same question.
On the same issue?
Yeah, I mean, as the mayor of BARTICA, I mean, what are your views that a big brawl happened in the police station? They broke up police property, injured police officers. Nobody was locked up. They just walked in. I'm pretty sure if you and I walk into BARTICA police station and start a fight, we'll be arrested. So there were concerns even from, let me say this, there were concerns expressed to me even by police officers at BARTICA. They were concerned that some of their colleagues were injured, assaulted during this big brawl. Nothing happened, and these people were able to walk out of the police station. And like the regional chairman said, everybody knows the bells in BARTICA. I mean, I knew one of the brothers. I think he's now deceased from a boat accident. I know some of the other relatives who were here. So we're not projecting anybody as being, you know, hooligans or whatever. People want to know why the system of justice did not work efficiently like it would have worked for every other citizen.
Thanks again, Rickford. I think regional chairman just a few minutes ago did an excellent job in laying the foundation on this matter, and I think we will continue on the other matters. BARTICA, of course, is a community in which we believe strongly can be Guyana's first hinterland city. Also, it's most developed part of our hinterland. And if you follow my Facebook page and the leaders of that community, we always try to our best to portray BARTICA as that star in the hinterland, as that open door to El Dorado, as that tourism capital, and like I said, that hinterland city. So when incidents like this happen, of course, it disturbs us a lot. What is important, Rickford, Mr. Williams, Regional Chairman Williams said, things do happen. It's unfortunate the way it happened. You know, when this incident happened, a lot of persons laughed. A lot of persons made a lot of jokes. But when you review the video, even a few seconds ago, it's painful to watch. And we are happy that no one lost their lives, because I don't know what caused the conflict. But what I'm happy about is that immediately after the commander acted and the relevant authorities were informed, and of course the law took its course, and that's most important to me. But like I said, we're grateful that no one lost their lives. I know a lot of persons made a lot of jokes about it. It was funny in the eyes of some, but it's an incident that should never occur again, and it's one that the entire community needs to learn from. And like I said, I admire in this particular case here the professionalism of the commander in dealing with it immediately, and I'm grateful also for Mr. Williams, the information that he provided in terms of the court cases and so forth. That information, I believe, is good for the community and the people of BARTICA, because they need to know what's happening. I believe also that the police, they have a responsibility to the people of BARTICA and to the country at large to inform them of these things, because that helps in building confidence, because persons are of the view that nothing happened, nothing came out of the matter. And the other matters that will be raised, I guess, by you, persons believe that these persons just walked away, when it's not the case. So the police, they have a responsibility. I know they have a large PR department. They have a responsibility to put the facts out there and inform the public, so they can gain some confidence that whenever something goes wrong, action will be taken.
I just saw somebody text a question to me, which I was going to ask you anyway. I want to press you a little more on that. You said immediately they took action and they also contacted the authorities. The impression that I am getting, and I'm pretty sure that members of the BARTICA community will get, is that the police had to wait for instructions from either the government or police headquarters before they acted, because of course, the Bells are members of the PPP. I know one of them was or is a regional councillor, and one of them may be the representative of some government, PP government official in BARTICA. So This is going to be a loaded question, but you're the mayor, you can handle that. Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. Do you get the impression that the police had to get instructions from Georgetown before they acted? And what do you say to the ordinary Bartician who would have done the same thing and would have immediately been thrown into the lockups? How do you talk to Barticians who feel there is one law for one set of people and another law for another set of ordinary people? I'm sorry,
good question. No, serious. It's very good question, and that's what bothers for people. You know, today, Rickford, I was looking at the social media. I was on following Facebook and the incident with what took place in Borbies. I think the police officer was granted bail.
I'm gonna come to that. Yeah, I'm gonna come to that.
They were weeping, you know, and when these things happen, so many things come through your mind, and I know we still talk about Chris and so forth. Rickford, I will answer the question this way. The police force, they have a responsibility. They have a responsibility to the people of our country. And that responsibility is to have an active PR and let people know exactly what is happening. I know we don't have a case where we see the commander himself, but the various regions doing press statements and so forth and speaking on incidents, but they have to improve their PR so that persons can gain confidence. In my seat, I am a little more, I don't want to say relaxed, but at ease, because I can contact the commander immediately and I'm briefed on what actions are taken or will be taken. So when I get that information, I'm comforted, but it is not my place, I believe, it is not my place to be giving out statements on the protocols and the operandas of the police force. So while I am comforted by actions taken, there are a number of persons out there who believe that some walk free while some are treated unfairly, or just the wrath of the sledgehammer comes down on them. So it's a very good question. It's one in which I believe that the police force will have to deal with. And like I said, they have to do a little better where the PR is concerned, because all of the incidents that occurred over the last few days in BARTICA, I can assure you, Rickford, and we'll go through them in detail, were dealt with, all of them. Now, I cannot pronounce on who called who, because I am not privy to information given to the commander from elsewhere. I don't know the levels, all the steps of protocol, but what I do know, when I communicate with him immediately after any event, I am very much comforted with the actions taken and the way in which he would have dealt with the matters. But to say that he got calls from elsewhere, I can't pronounce on that.
No,
but like I said, what is
to do that at all?
What I think is very, very important in all of this is, like I said, I mean, the police force, they have their modus operandi, but they have a responsibility to communicate and let the people know what is happening.
Right. Mr. Williams, you heard the mayor. He sees it more or less as a public relations issue. I'm thinking along the lines of some of the questions Barticians have asked me over the week. And they're more or less of the police operation itself. I don't think a press release today stating that these people were charged how many days or weeks after this incident would answer the questions Barticians have, which is, why weren't these people arrested right there and then? Why were they allowed to walk out to the police station? And then days after there's a public outrage, and I'm not saying that the public outrage led to the charges, but that's how it unfolded. It may or may not have, but I'm pretty sure Barticians want to know why the different standard. We saw how Chris was treated. I'm going to come to that. But I know for sure if your cousin down on 7th Avenue or something were to go into BARTICA police station, curse up a police officer, let alone arrest him, break up property in the police station, he would not leave the police station. So the question I think Barticians want the police to answer. And I know you're not the police. Why this happened? Why the different standard? Is it because these people are politically connected to the government that they can do that with impunity and not be arrested on the scene? I mean, I'm just throwing that question out to you because I'm pretty sure Barticians have asked you the question. You may not be able to answer it, but it's a question that the police must answer, the government must answer. We can't have a society with two different sets of rules.
Well, Rickford, I agree with you completely. We can't have a society with two different sets of rules. I don't want to harp on what I said earlier, but when we deal with these matters, we had an RIC meeting, the mayor, myself, and the senior security officers.
RIC, would that be Regional Intelligence Committee?
Yes.
Oh.
And we spoke extensively about perception. You know, if perception is left unchecked, it simply becomes reality in many people's minds. And so we were careful to advise the security officers that sometimes when you do not act on matters immediately, then perception simply becomes reality in many people's minds. So in this particular instance, I do not have all the facts. I do not know why they were let go immediately. I do not want to pronounce on it, but just like you, I would ask the same question if I get the chance, because it's not a question that I think we can obfuscate or hide or you know, push it aside, because there should be rules that, you know, across the board.
Right.
I'm not sure if it's based on political affiliation. I'm not sure if myself and the mayor had a fight, if he would not have been afforded the same type of leniency. But it is something that our society has to deal with, and it's not something particular to BARTICA or a particular region. If you are seen to be someone of stature, you usually get a little preference, right? And I'm not saying this happened in this particular instance, but I'm saying that it can appear, it may appear that may have happened, and it's not unusual. But the inequalities in societies will always exist with us until I think God comes. But as citizens, just like you, right? Just like you, we can advocate for better. We can advocate for better.
I agree and accept that. I accept. Yeah. I would point out, since my editorial commentary, I see James Bond being arrested, the mayor of Georgetown being arrested, ministers being arrested, APNU members of parliament being arrested. So it seems to be political affiliation to the PPP. But I want to bring to your attention another video. And everybody keep sharing the link. We're talking to BARTICA. I'm Bartician. You have the mayor, you have the regional chairman for Region 7, who's in charge of the entire region, Kayuni Mazruni. I want to play another video, and we'll come back on the other side of that and talk about it.
No problem.
So what you want to do? What you want to do? You want to kill me? Huh? What you want to do? You block up the fucking road. You want to bust up on your fucking face? Huh? Huh? You know who's me?
The people without uniform, that's people anyway.
You want to tell you? No, you know what I said? No, I want to make a good example. I just said a jackass in this place. You could video you want video, no. You could video when you want video, sir. No, you could. I park the vehicle in the car, you have to video when you want video. You drag not the vehicle. This is a state-owned vehicle, you see. We pay for this. We pay for this. You drag not the vehicle. I put this in your skull tonight, honest to God. You know what I mean? Yo, you know what bad for go against you? I talk a lot of bodies in this place. Huh? What you doing? You can't get gun for me? Hey, I'm simple say my yard call more. The more no way I go on with. Call more, video me. Because you want to lock me up this summer because I do music as a business. Call more, buddy. Call more.
You know, that is a gentleman by the name of Ishwar Das. He's a former regional chairman. I understand his sister is a PPP regional councillor, is or was. He's a prominent PPP member, and BARTICA's entire family, PPP run the central government. He basically, he was behaving disorderly. He was intoxicated in the public. He incited public disorder, possibly public violence. All of those charges could have been laid. He walked away from that scene, just like the Bells. He's a member of the party, or his family are supporters or members of the PPP. We have a similar problem here at BARTICA, where a PPP person, member or supporter, a former official, definitely a former PPP official, abused the police, attacked the police, behaved disorderly, incited public disorder, not arrested. Regional Chairman?
I'm always in the hot seat. Again, I want to immediately tell you that in fact, I want to simply say that I admire the restraint of the police officer. I think he did exceedingly well. I think it would have further complicated matters if he had tried. That's from the layman's view. I think it would have further complicated matters if he had tried to arrest Mr. Das in the present state that he was in. Again, Mr. Das is a friend of mine. I know him. We've played cricket together. I know his family well. And we have a cordial relationship that has existed throughout the years. So it was surprising to me to see his reaction in public, or this sort of behavior in public, but still, he's a human being. And I said early in my piece, if you transgress, then you have to face the law. I have been told that Mr. Das will face the court on Tuesday. That's Tuesday coming. He's been charged, and charges have been laid against him, and he has to face the court. I was also told that he went to the police station and apologized profusely. And he and his son, I think, they apologized to all the ranks. So the question is that enough? But it's not for me to say. It's the law has to take its course. And Tuesday he will be placed. He will attend court, I'm told by the commander. Again, Rickford, I know these incidents have been splattered across the social media landscape. And I just want to go back to my original piece. It's not indicative of who we are as Barticians. These incidents, though not isolated, may appear to give the impression that we are hooligans or we're always in an antagonizing position with the police. But it's not the rule. It's more of an exception. And again, I want to repeat, it's very unfortunate. We're not happy as leaders of the region, but we recognize that these things do happen. And we hope that with this sort of, everyone becoming aware of these things, and they recognize that this is not who or what BARTICA should be portraying or Barticians should be portraying. So again, I hope this is information that would comfort some among the persons that Mr. Das has been charged and he's been placed before the courts.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, you heard the regional chairman.
Yeah.
The regional chairman was told that Mr. Das would be charged and would face the court, and that he apologized. I didn't see the police headquarters put out a statement about the Bell issue. I didn't see the police public relations department put out a statement about Mr. Das's issue. I saw a statement that was very malicious about Chris Crichton, but we'll come to Chris. But here again, you're the mayor of BARTICA. You have the citizens that elected you. Unfortunately, the police is not like New York City, where you have individual cities having their own police force. It's a nationalized police force. So national politics is at play as well. But how can we have two consecutive incidents where PPP people abuse the police, they're not arrested immediately, and the police force doesn't say anything about the issue. How do you feel as the mayor? You're in the hot seat. No, you're occupying the hot seat. You're the mayor.
No, that's fine. I love being in the hot seat. As a matter of fact, I've been in the hot seat for 6 years.
Great.
Rickford, whenever an incident of this nature occurs, I would, because we have a working relationship with the authorities in the police force in BARTICA, and we will communicate. And upon communication, we would know what actions are taken. And like I said before, I don't want to sound too redundant. When information comes to my desk, I'm satisfied that action is being taken and the matters are being taken seriously. And again, you're right. The people of BARTICA, we have just around 10,000 persons sitting on the sidelines and having no other alternative but to make assumptions. And that's why I said earlier that is it the position of the police force to communicate through their PR department and let the people know exactly what is happening, because what you will find happening continuously is that all sort of assumptions are being made. Now, forgive me for saying this, Rickford, but I'm not sure that, because we all have political affiliations, I'm not sure that Das behaved that because of his political affiliation. I'm not sure that the Bells fought because of their political affiliations. But at the end of it, if information is not given to the people, then that would be the perception, unfortunately, in this country that persons would run with. And that is something that we have to work with. Over the years, some key institutions would have been destroyed by the actions of politicians. And those actions just filter down into everything else. So innocent situations and innocent persons now are being blamed, and situations are being blown up out of proportion. Because, like I said, all of these incidents and matters, they were dealt with. I'm not sure the time span in terms of, I know it wasn't days, but the command in particular.
It was not days? You said, I didn't hear that part you said.
No, I know it wasn't like for example 3-4 days before action was taken, because for example when you're summoned to go to court, of course you're given a date, and then of course a few days after then you go to court. But the whole point I'm saying here, Rickford, is that the responsibility in this particular case is and pronouncing on these matters is a police force, and I think they erred especially in those cases in terms of letting the public know, because the people of BARTICA, they are right in this case that we heard statements about Chris Crichton, but unfortunately, the other two matters, there's no statement in the public domain in that regard. And I think the police force erred where that is concerned, and it's something they definitely have to correct.
But I want to follow up, not necessarily with a question, but I want to make a comment. Now, you said that you don't believe that they behaved in that way because they were PPP. I would leave them neutral on that. I am sure they were not arrested because they're from the PPP. I am pretty sure, because if you was in a drunken state and behaved like that, you'll be immediately arrested, and the chairman and me and everybody else in BARTICA who's not prominent to the PPP. So I think, and I'm pretty sure the people in BARTICA think, while it might be true they didn't behave like that because they're PPP, they behaved like that because they felt empowered because of their political affiliation, and the police did not act like they should and follow police procedure because they're afraid of political reprisals. I'm pretty sure the police officers have said that to me. That video came through a police source. So it is, police officers are disturbed as well. And so it's an issue that the police force has to deal with. Now, let's go to the Chris Crichton matter. I'm going to play that video and then come back on the other side of the video and discuss it.
All right, thanks.
Please, I see. Please, I something. Why are you asking me? I'm going in the police vehicle. You know, no scene. There's nobody there. There's more than this fire. No, there's nobody. No, but you can't want to do me though. No. No. Listen to me. Hey, humble, I could apply, but you can't want to knock me. Listen to me. Hey, I say, hey, what you telling me, boy? No, Sergeant, no. Alright, just step in the vehicle. Listen, nobody, hey, listen. No, you can't want. Listen to me, Sergeant. You got a problem. No, you got a problem thing with the police. No, you got a problem with the vehicle. Hey, bye.
All right, so let me explain to the audience what happened there. So that's 20-year-old Chris Crichton. He went to run an errand for his mom, he said, using his motorcycle. Police stopped him. I happen to think it's an illegal stop. You cannot stop somebody just for stopping them. You have to have a reason. So he was stopped. So that's the first mistake. It's an illegal stop. He was stopped and they asked him for his documents. He lives a block away. He said, okay, I don't have the documents. I just ran out. Could I go and get the documents? Could you follow me to my home? Could my family bring the documents? They said no. They administered not one, but 2 breathalyzer tests on him, and he passed all of them, and they wanted to take him and his bike to the station. Chris says that he wanted to videotape the condition of the bike, and because of what was happening, I guess he wanted to also videotape what was happening. And that's when the police officer got angry and hit him and said that he would kill him twice. In addition to that, the Sergeant Noel, Nikolai Noel, also kept insisting that he deletes that video. When he didn't want to delete it, when he said no, they wanted him to hand over the phone, even at the police station. Now, subsequently, his family brought the documents to the police station and he was released. Now, the police force, Guyana Police Force promptly put out a statement. The statement lied. It said that he refused a breathalyzer test when he did 2. And they also said that he was arrested because he didn't have his documents. He had the documents. The documents were produced to the police station. Under the laws of Guyana, you can produce your document that way. If you don't have the documents, you could produce them at the police station. Now, so this is a matter where the police obviously lied to justify why he was arrested and why they had to use excessive force. So we have a situation where in the first 2 videos, it would have been justified for the police to use force. They didn't, because those are 2 big PPP people. Here you have a little black boy, 20 years old, riding his motorcycle, didn't have his documents on him, but subsequently produced the documents. And they threatened to kill him because he wanted to videotape. He was creating evidence of their misconduct. And the man said, I would kill you, I would murder you. I showed this video to a prosecutor here, and he told me that that police officer should have been prosecuted with some serious felony charges. All the other officers on site should have been charged with aiding and abetting those crimes, and all of them should be fired from the police force. None of that has happened yet. I understand that there might be some charges, but starting with you, Mr. Regional Chairman, obviously the videos speak for themselves. Completely different approach to Chris Crichton. And we're seeing this throughout the country. I want to also, I know you're from BARTICA, you're the regional chairman for your party, but I want to widen the discussion now. We saw an agent of the state probably went and killed Mr. Boston from Essequibo on behalf of the state. And that police officer was, and I think they only charged him because we leaked his name and all of that, but he was placed on $1 million bail. But you had 2 police officers, a police officer in Bordeaux, who was pursuing a fleeing suspect. Whether or not they follow police procedure would have to be determined later. But they were on the job, doing their work. right? And they charged them with murder because the fleeing suspect crashed and died. They charged the people with murder, these police officers. The suspect that they were pursuing is from Barbados, they're Indian people. They charged these black police officers with murder. But the DPP, on the other hand, took months, almost a year, before she charged Orrin Boston's killer with manslaughter. So you don't have to comment on that. I wanted to make sure I brought it in for people to see the injustice on how the police is handling matters when it comes to certain people in the society. Coming back to BARTICA, how can the police explain wanting to murder Chris Crichton because he didn't have his documents when the law allows him to produce his documents later? They want to murder him because he's videotaping them, creating evidence, but they ain't got that gall to do the same thing to Das, nor the Bells. And the Bells was fighting in the station. Your comments, Mr. Regional Chairman.
All right, immediately, Rickford, the video was extremely painful to watch and listen to. I have a 19-year-old son. It's not something that I could conceptualize, you know, him being in that particular situation and hearing those words. So I want to say off the bat, not satisfactory. If I were to coin a phrase, it would probably have to be off air for me to indicate what I think happened there. I'm not happy, and I'm not happy because we all have kids. We all have persons that we're responsible for, and being placed in those situations would affect any parent. I spoke to the parents. I spoke to the mom. I spoke to the sister. And it was very heartrending, very tough for them. So off the bat, I want to say that it wasn't a pleasant. This one particularly wasn't pleasant. In relation to how the police acted, again, I hope this is not new information. The police involved in the video was immediately transferred. That is usual modus operandi. He has been transferred. The Office of Professional Responsibility came. They took some evidence, and it is possible that more charges will be laid against that police officer and some others. I am very careful to say it is possible because it's in their hands. So moving from that to Chris, from where I spoke about earlier to what happened with Chris, and I said this incident was particularly touching. How the police reacted, what happened there, we spoke in depth at the RIC meeting, and I think the commander was quite clear that when they came before him, and I think his sister also told me that when they approached the commander with the problem, he quickly dealt with the problem and told Chris to go home. Right? The matter died in. But then the matter escalated when Chris released that video, and then the whole world got to know what happened then. So I'm thankful that Chris released that video because this is not what
Did you have an account of why the police statement was misleading? That
no
they said
idea.
he refused to take a breath marker test when he didn't?
I have not seen the police statement, to be honest. If that is so, that was unfortunate. But the steps subsequently, it's beyond our control.
Right.
The police have said clearly that matters have reached a stage where it is possible that charges might be laid against those culpable. So then that is satisfying for the general population. But I'm with you. The steps leading up, I think they were the satisfactory steps. Right? I will not hide that one.
Thanks. Mr. Mayor, young man in your community beaten by the police, assaulted, threatened to be killed because he was trying to videotape the incident where he could have lost his life, and all because he didn't have documents, a basic traffic stop. And then the police lied in their statement that he was uncooperative with the police and that he refused a breathalyzer test when he didn't. This is so off the rails, but not inconsistent with the Guyana police force, because they've done that in every prominent incident. Boston, Kevin Andrews, the Henry Boys family, all of them, the police deliberately lied to cover up their misconduct. But now it's happening in BARTICA.
Yeah, Rickford and all the viewers, like I said in my social media page, sorry, on my social media page, that video was painful to watch. As a matter of fact, regional chairman and I, we were at the football game that same night, and Chris arrived to hand over some trophies, join us in handing over some trophies, and he seemed visibly upset. We never knew at that point in time that that's what he went through a few hours earlier. And it's almost unbelievable that a lawman would say that he would murder, he would kill. I mean, you just keep looking at the video and you're hoping that you're hearing wrong. You're hoping that like something is definitely wrong. And there's a lot of questions, Rickford. A lot of questions need to be asked and answered. And we have a problem across our country with the police force, with officers who are bent on, I don't know if to say tarnishing the image of the force, or I don't know what their objectives are, but we have to correct that as a country. And the politicians on both sides of the divide, I believe, have to take responsibility for some of what is taking place and act quickly to ensure that our citizens do not continue to suffer. Now, I know Chris. Chris is a quiet, well-loved, well-mannered young man in our community. Only a few days ago, I saw on social media the memory of that young man from the University of Guyana who was shot. Right. And these are young men who belongs to families. They belong to they have a mother, they have fathers, they have sisters and brothers. They're not dogs, they're not rabbits. You made reference to the incident in Essequibo. You made reference to the incident in Borbis in relation to the Henry Boys. And I don't know when as a country we will take it seriously, but action must be taken, and decisive action to ensure that across the board, citizens must feel safe. And again, forces must not go away with the citizens must not have that belief, must not have that perception that, listen, if I'm of a particular ethnicity, I'll be treated this way, and if I'm another, I will not. But something is wrong if the citizens are thinking that way. Something is wrong. The wrong message is being communicated to them. They must not feel as if, all right, if I'm associated with this political party, I can do as I please. And if I'm with this particular party, I'll be jailed. No, that perception must be removed. And like I said before, Rickford, all of our leaders or political leaders on both sides of the divides have a responsibility to change this image. It is shameful to see what took place in BARTICA, especially with Chris, knowing who he is and knowing what he stands for, and knowing the quiet community that we have. You know, our community, every year on the 17th of February, we plunge into mourning because of the BARTICA massacre. And some of these things, when they occur, it traumatizes people because it brings back memories of some statements that were made then by the gang and some of the actions that were being taken, and persons were literally happy to be alive after. So you have to understand our history, and when these things happen, how it affects us and how it affects the people. And that's why I'm very redundant. I think while I am satisfied as the mayor of BARTICA with how my commander, well, not my, but how the commander acted, our commander acted, with how some persons in the police force act, I still believe that there's room for a lot of improvement. And as a country, we have to work and correct those shortcomings, or else we're going to go down the road from here.
I see somebody asked a question here to the regional chairman. I guess this has to be directed. You said that an officer was transferred. That was not announced to the public, but I'm gonna praise the question. The person really wants to say this police officer is transferred somewhere else to do the same thing, to threaten to kill another little boy who is videotaping him, and he's upset that there's evidence of his misconduct, so he's going to murder people. And who knows that he has not murdered people in the past? And the person's also asking, this person is from Maryland, and the person is asking, did the police investigate to see whether or not these officers involved here had abused people before? I guess these are all police questions, but it was asked.
But to take a philosophical side, Rickford and Mayor, I could remember distinctly that a former police commissioner said that if you give me a $10,000 man, you will get a $10,000 police, which simply means that his actions will mirror his pay. I'm not excusing people's actions, but I want to say sometimes when people enter the police force, it's last resort for some of the youngsters at least. And when they are in that position where they have no psychological training, where they're just out of training school, I'm told this is a very, very young police officer, and he interacted in such a manner as a citizen, as someone who's looking on from the outside, looking in, you are encouraged to think that maybe work has to be done in terms of how you select persons. Was there proper background checks? Did they have enough information going forward how you choose the recruits? And because of the desperate nature of the Guyana Police Force, I would want to think. I think sometimes we have not some of the best citizens or not some of the best youths being encouraged to join the police force. I'm just looking at it from that point. And then when you offer them the salaries that they're being offered, then you expect them to do these Herculean tasks, managing public security, handling difficult situations, then you are in for trouble. So based on my simple ideas concerning this particular incident, and from some of the research I've done, I'm confident that we have to use different methods in the selection of recruits. We have to take it to the next level when we handle the police public relations. We have to make sure that every single time there have to be more training to handle those sorts of situations, because given the limited resources that we have in this country, given the failure of many of our politicians to adequately pay our security services, we get what we inspect, or what we have there is what we have gathered throughout the years based on the lack of resources. My thing is that if you offer enough salaries or better salaries, then you will get better trained persons or persons in a certain bracket in society. I'm not looking down upon persons who might not be of a certain caliber, but you have to understand that if you are not giving the tools to handle certain situations, it is highly possible that you will act in a certain manner given the limited resources that you have, or given the limited training, or given the limited guidance that you have. So I am sure that as a country, this debate has been raging for the longest while. It's not unusual. It has happened in the United States, but it's in our small country. We can't afford to lose our human resources to wanton police violence. So based on that, I think it is something that we have to take it to the next level and not just throw the baby and they call it the birth water. You can't just throw out everything. You have to have a national conversation on the police recruits, what we get as a police force, and how could we improve them? What do we do? Do we have this conversation next year again when something happens? Or do we make a definitive step right now on both sides of the political divide and say enough is enough, and try to improve the lot of the police force or the men, the policemen and women?
Rickford, sorry, I just want to butt in quickly.
Go ahead.
Regional Chairman is my good friend. I heard all that he said, but I'm not satisfied with that in this particular case. That police officer should be dismissed. Straight as that. You can't have a member of the discipline force threatening a citizen in that manner to kill him.
With murder.
Yeah, and then be transferred to where? You should be dismissed. And next question. And you know, the mayor of BARTICA got a lot of pressure. Mayor, you're not saying anything. What's happening in the police force? The police force is not the BARTICA police force. It's the Guyana police force. Officers are drawn from around the country. Now, question to you, Rickford. You've been asking me all the questions. The question is, which policymaker, who is sitting in parliament? How many persons we have in parliament? 65? Which one of them condemned the actions in BARTICA? So you have the mayor there, bursting his head, having to work with the commander who is very supportive and helpful, who and other stakeholders in dealing with these issues. We have the regional chairman doing his best, but some of these matters calls for a higher level of immediate intervention and pronouncement. And in this particular case, the policymakers should address it. Now, I have not seen any statement from anywhere in that regard.
And we have a bunch of lazy politicians in Guyana. That's a fact on both sides. And we have some of them are lazy and they're not connected on the ground. So you'll find issues like that flying above the radar because there's not an interest in the people's welfare, the people's interest. That's the only reason I could say why. Was did the PNC issue a statement condemning this? The young, the Guyana Youth and Student Movement, the PYO, did the president comment about it? No, but they commented about it. The police officer that ran down the little young boy and who crashed up, and the police. That's the issue here. It's the unfairness in the society. And we don't see action at the central level unless it's politically expedient or convenient for one party or the next. That's true. I'm happy that you said that.
And that's sad. And that's that's where I want the conversation to go, because that is where the problem is. That is where the problem is in this country, because anyway, I don't want to say too much more. You go ahead.
But let me also follow up on, I'll ask you and then I'll come to the chairman. There was a supervisor there, right? The sergeant is the highest rank before you get to officer. I was a child of a police officer. I grew up, you know, my father was a police officer in BARTICA. I grew up in police compounds around the country. You had a sergeant there. The sergeant himself should be dismissed, because if a sergeant can supervise ranks who are abusing citizens for absolutely no reason, making unlawful traffic stops, demanding that evidence be deleted, which is obstruction of justice, and allowed a police officer to threaten somebody to kill them and said nothing. And I further understand that the sergeant was saying that we're making all of these, and this is police officers who were telling me this. This particular Sergeant Noel, was saying that we're making all these public pronouncements because we want to get him in trouble, but he's not getting transferred and he's not going to get in trouble because he has connections. You see what I'm saying? He has connections, so he's not going to get in trouble. When he stood up and watched his ranks attack and abuse a 20-year-old boy, threatened to murder him, and I further understand that when the officer was attacking Chris, the sergeant told the officer to wait until a passing vehicle's light had gone past them, then to hit him further. Why is this police officer being transferred and disciplined and possibly charged, and the sergeant who's the supervisor, who should know better, who should have better training, has not been transferred, has not been charged?
A question for the police.
Gifford, take this one.
Tony has to take it to the mayor. Go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, a question for the police force. But I'm baffled. I'm really baffled.
Go ahead, yes. Go ahead.
And that's why I'm saying that in this particular case also, an investigation should be launched. We need to hear from the policymakers. And at times, sometimes it can go over to the general public as if I am supporting the officers or whatever it is. But that should never be the thought. I am a professional, and the police force also is a professional body, and we expect nothing less from them. When I said earlier in the week that I have confidence in the commander, some persons, were a little upset with it. And I explained to them that if I, as mayor of BARTICA, don't have a commander that I can trust and work with, then I would let the relevant authorities know. We need to have.
Do you trust that sergeant to remain in BARTICA community?
Sorry?
Do you trust Sergeant Noel to remain in the BARTICA community?
Well, the thing about it, Rickford, like I'm saying, is that in this, I'm getting to that. In this particular point, I'm straight with this. In this particular point, an investigation needs to be launched, and if he's found wanting, then he needs to be dealt with. The Sergeant Noel that I know, when I heard what transpired, I was shocked because, he was recently promoted. He displays very high professionalism within the township. Regional chairman knows him well. The former regional chairman knows him well. He's seen as a community leader. So I don't know what went wrong there. And the only way we can know what went wrong is an investigation.
Can I ask you a really hard question? Can I ask you, and I know you're going to beat me up after this, but you just said the police officer should be fired, right? Why shouldn't the sergeant be fired or transferred when he supervised the police officer who behaved badly, who threatened to kill Chris, who cursed in public in front of his office? Obviously, he doesn't have any respect for the sergeant. And the sergeant also acted egregiously. He allowed them to assault the child. Then he wanted to take away the video. And if he had gone through, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't know what happened to Chris. Chris could have been killed. And the police could have issued any statement, like they lied in that statement they issued. So why Sergeant Noel should not be fired as well?
All right. Very good question. My pronouncement on the officer being fired is based on what I saw in the video. The response and the actions from Sergeant Noel, despite a little grumblings in the background, I, Gifford Marshall, don't have much evidence on all that took place and all that he said and did not say. So that's why I'm saying.
And he supervised the ranks.
That's why I'm saying that an investigation need to be launched and see what exactly occurred, because I'm being straight on this, Rickford. Like I'm saying to you, these are persons, Sergeant Noel in particular, he is in BARTICA for some amount of years. Now I would want to assume maybe 3-4 years or a little under that. The entire community knows him well. He was never involved in such an incident. I know that there's always rubbing of shoulders because he's a traffic officer and he stands up for what is right. And that's why I said that an investigation needs to be launched. I made a pronouncement on the officer being fired because you cannot say it to, or you should not say it to a civilian. You cannot say to somebody, especially a youngster, that you're going to murder them and kill them and then just move to another community and maybe an incident occurred, you say that to somebody else, and who knows what can happen. So I made that pronouncement based on the evidence that is available in the video. But there's some other information need to be gathered and put together, and that can only come out from an investigation launched by the Guyana Police Force.
Mr. Williams, should Sergeant Noel be fired?
No, the mayor is
because he was supervising the scene. He then asked for the video to be deleted. How can you trust somebody like that to remain in your community? This is just my view, but your view.
No, Rickford the Mayor is doing exceedingly well. I'm going to take back seat on this particular piece. I noticed that he's quite effusive in his comments in relation to this particular matter. So I'm happy that he's taking the lead. But seriously, it's
all of these officers. Do you think they should remain in BARTICA or remain in the police force? Well, that's above your the police matter. But should they remain in that community? Because the community is always going to have problems with them now, right? Who's going to trust Sergeant Noel? Who's going to trust Officer Archer? But he said he's transferred. Well, who in heaven's name on BARTICA can trust Sergeant Noel when he sat there and allowed one of his officers to threaten to murder a young man for absolutely no reason, and then wanted to delete the evidence?
Yeah, Mr. Burke, I don't think it's a fair question to the regional chairman for this reason. We're dealing here with the Guyana police force, and that's the reason why I keep saying that there needs to be reform, there needs to be involvement at the highest level. The policy makers, I am the mayor, I am just in charge of,
you're the mayor. Do you want them to remain in your community?
10,000 people. Mr. Williams, he's the regional chairman. We can protest, we can talk, but the policy makers.
Okay, let me ask you this. I'm going to press you on that. If the police commissioner, if the police commissioner calls you and says, Mr. Mayor, do you want me to remove these people from your community? What would you say? The officers involved, all of them, Sergeant Noel and all of them who were involved in the misconduct. What would you say?
No, the officer that was involved, the officer that made the threats, he was already, he was...
I'm saying, if the commissioner wants to know if he should remove all of them from the community, because the community is now on edge, they're outraged, it's unsafe for the officers and the community as well, because there could be reprisals on either side. So how should Chris and his family feel safe in a community when those same officers are still around? So I'm saying, in your opinion, if you were asked or if you were to give a recommendation, would you allow these officers to remain in BARTICA?
And my response to that is this, that an investigation needs to be launched and acted upon based on the findings. That's one. I'm saying that because it's the Guyana police force. So if indeed Sergeant Noel is guilty of something, then you're basically transferring a problem, and I don't want you to transfer a problem. I love the people of Linden, of Berbice and Essequibo, just like I love the people of BARTICA. So I don't want you to take somebody who is misbehaving in BARTICA and send them to Essequibo, Berbice, or Linden. So that's why I'm saying an investigation needs to be launched. And that's why I also said that based on the video that I saw and the people of BARTICA saw, the officer who made the threats was removed from BARTICA, and that's fine. That's excellent. But I am of the view, and I think the people of BARTICA, they're of the view that that officer should be removed from the force, because we don't want him in Berbice, in Essequibo, in Region 9, threatening anybody to take their lives. We must feel safe when police officers are around. Listen, Rickford, that same night with that football game, the police was present. And we always feel happy when the police come into our games and they walk through, they check the stands, people feel better because sometimes you don't know who's there. So we must always feel safe when the policemen and women, they are around. And that's my simple response to it.
Agreed. I hear you. I really wanted to talk about the development of BARTICA, but we're out of time. Would you guys commit to come back to the program so we can talk about how you have transformed BARTICA, how the regional chairman is doing, what are the development projects, what you guys look forward to, how has tourism at BARTICA evolved and contributing to the national tourism effort and so on. So I would love to have you guys back to talk about that.
Well, we would love to be back.
All right, good. So closing remarks now. Let me start with the regional chairman.
Well, Rickford, thank you for having me. I know this dominated the entire discussion. These particular matters dominated the entire conversations, but I was very, very anxious to get my agenda across to you and to the rest of the world. And just like the mayor, I think he has excellent ideas in moving the region forward, BARTICA forward, and myself the region. So I'm not disappointed, but I know this matter has taken up a lot of our time. It's important. It was an important matter, but I hope that we get the opportunity to give the world a better view of region number 7 and make sure that people know that we're still a loving people, a caring people, a hospitable people, and the people that care. You represent the best of our intentions, and we hope that we get another opportunity to simply say, this is what we really are, right? So thank you once again for having me, and may God bless you and keep you and your family, and keep on doing the good work.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor.
Yes, yes, Mr. Burke. I want to take this opportunity to speak directly to the people of BARTICA. I know we have a number of them on here. I want to say, in short, that you have a regional chairman that you can trust. You have a mayor that you can trust. You have a commander that you can trust to work in your interests. BARTICA and Region 7 in particular, if you check the map, you will see where we're located. And it is important that your leaders work together for your safety and for your well-being. We may not get it right all the time. Mistakes will be made. But I can assure you that any mistake is made, we will correct, and we hold each other accountable. In a few weeks, we will be hosting thousands of persons in the township in what is known as the BARTICA Easter Regatta that season. And we have to ensure that we rebound from these incidents that occurred over the next few days. And we will work with you. We will ensure that BARTICA remains safe. The Chris Crichton issue pains our hearts to this day. And we will ensure that the commander and his team ensure that we do not relive that experience. And everyone, every boy and girl must feel safe in BARTICA, in Region 7, and the police force must be seen as family, as friends. Thank you so much, and may God bless you.
Thank you. Well, it was a real pleasure talking to you guys, Mr. Marshall. I know this is the first time that you came on. Sorry, conversation with Rickford Burke. I hope to have you back shortly so that we can talk about the development of BARTICA. We can talk about Regatta. I remember coming to BARTICA for Regatta. I was somehow, Regatta kind of defined my impression of BARTICA on the one hand, but then I was always scared to go to BARTICA, to go to Regatta, because I think of all these accidents, and twice when we were at BARTICA for Regatta, somebody drowned. So I was always scared. So I never went close to the water when I visited BARTICA. Never went into the water. So, but BARTICA is a nice place, and when I visit Guyana again, I'll come to BARTICA and spend some time with you guys. So it was a pleasure having you guys on. Good night, everybody. Thank you for listening. All my Barticians abroad and at home, thank you for joining. And I know this video will be viewed for a long time by a lot of people. So have a good night, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Thanks again.
God bless you too.
Thank you. Same to you.